All right, welcome everyone to this Q&A. Again, I want to welcome everyone to this Q&A. Few questions came in. See how far we get with them. First one is person, let's say they help somebody, right? They do something good. They do something good for someone else. Question is, first question is, should you expect it from other people? And what do you do when they do the opposite or they ignore you? Yeah, good questions. So the first question is, you do good for someone else. You help someone else. Should you expect it from other people? So, we live in a very cynical world. So I grew up, hearing this over and over again, that basically don't expect anything. And whatever you get is a bonus. Meaning we shouldn't expect things from others. What's the problem with that? Problem is we have expectations. We have expectations. Should a person think, should they think that you're going to do something, you're going to help, let's say you're going to help someone, let's say better, that you're going to help someone and you're going to expect something in return. Now, normally we say, Mishnah Perkei Avos says in Ethics for Our Fathers, schar mitzvah, schar avera, avera. The reward for a mitzvah is the mitzvah itself. And a mitzvah causes you to do other mitzvahs. Transgressions cause you to do other transgressions. Now, there's another Mishnah, Perkei Avos says, that a person, and I spoke about this before, that a person shouldn't think they're God's gift to the world. They learned a lot of Torah. Why not? Very simple, because that's what they're commanded to do. Right? That's what we're commanded to do. But as we mentioned, the Chovos HaLevavos, through the heart says, why do you get a hoodie? Why do you get rewards? Because God has mercy. God has compassion. Right? Let's say better. God does chesed. It's an act of loving kindness. That's what it is. You don't deserve it. Why do we deserve a hoodie? Why do we deserve reward? That's what you're commanded to do. Right? So when a person does a mitzvah, they help somebody. Why do you want to help someone? What's the purpose of helping someone? Purpose of helping someone is you're helping them. That's the purpose. Right? The highest level is that you're doing a mitzvah, you're helping others, even if you don't get any reward. You're doing it because you believe it's the right thing to do. Right? In the bigger scheme of things, in the ways of Torah. You're helping because that's what you do. You help others if you can. There are people, and I think some people here are going to be actually shocked. So I hope you're all sitting down. And that is, there are people out there that don't think they should help others. They don't think, why should I help others? So a Jew who eats non-kosher. So we've said many times, a Jew that eats non-kosher, what does it cause? Timtum halev. What does Timtum halev mean? It makes them apathetic. Makes them apathetic to Torah mitzvahs. Right? So someone goes out of the way to help somebody because they want to help them. Some other people will say, may say, what do you mean? Like, that's unbelievable. You know why it's unbelievable? Because they themselves wouldn't do it necessarily. Because it's not in their psyche, not part of their psyche. Don't think you don't come across people like this. Unfortunately, and I know a lot of people like this. It's not in their mind. Not in their mind. Okay, you ask them for help, maybe they'll help, maybe. If they do help, maybe it's a drop in the bucket what they really could do. Okay. But everyone at their level. But you can have people that eat garbage. The garbage affects their soul, and they're totally apathetic. Totally apathetic. That's mind-boggling. You see someone's down and someone's hurting. I remember, I was running for the train, stuck my token in and went flying because I got jammed. Okay, this is New York, not other places, right? I go flying like 30 feet. Nobody helped me up. One guy looks over me, he's like, wow, that looked like must have hurt. Kept walking. They say that's New York. Could be. Probably in the Midwest, someone would have helped me up. Maybe other places, okay. I realized at that point, you got to get out of Dodge. No point me living, you live in such a place. But okay. I'm not saying every place is like that. I'm not going to overgeneralize. Right? But yeah, you tell someone, yeah, you're down, this, that, and they're like, okay. They're like, mm-hmm. I was like, oh, maybe they'll give a little bit of a sigh. Maybe they'll give a little bit of a kvetch. What does that mean? Doesn't mean anything, right? What does it show? It shows they can't show empathy. They don't have empathetic bones. It doesn't dawn on them. You know why? Because they hate all this garbage affects their soul in a negative way. What? You should be helped. Someone should do an act of loving kindness unless it's in their interest. For some people, it doesn't go. Mind-boggling thing. What constitutes a Jew? What are 3 character traits? Someone who's a Jew. They're Rachmanim, Baishanim, Gimels, Chasadim. They have compassion for others, Rachmanim. They have Baishanim, they get embarrassed easily. Third thing is the Gimels, Chasadim. They do acts of loving kindness. Now, can non-Jews do that? Yeah. Non-Jews can also do acts of loving kindness. I saw someone put up a post, months ago, someone got stuck. The car got stuck. And there was the basketball player stopped and helped them. Okay, very good. Professional player, very good. Did they have to stop in the middle of the rain? No. Praiseworthy thing. Stopped, helped them, this, that. Tremendous thing. Why do you have to report that? Right? To me, that's an obvious question. Why does that make news? Why should that make news? Put this person on a higher pedestal? Okay. I'm not saying they didn't do it, they did an act of chesed over here. They certainly did an act of loving kindness, no question. They'll get rewarded for that. Okay. That's news. Person helps someone on the side of the road, that's news. And the person's going to do it so that, so people are going to take pictures. People are going to mention the person, what a hero. Again, I'm not saying he didn't do a mitzvah. See, he did a mitzvah, no question. He did it because he thought it was the right thing to do. Okay. Will he get reward? 100%. 100%. But think about this. Why does that make news? Because that's not common. That's why it's news. You can have hundreds, thousands of people drive by and not stop to help. That's the norm. There will be some people that will. Okay. I'm not saying when you call someone to help you, whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about someone on their own good heart, good will. Help someone that was stranded, whatever. Do you have tens of thousands of people stopping for such a person? No. People just driving by. So there's one person stopped. Very good. He'll get credit. He'll get rewards. Think about what a low level this world's on. He'll get reward. I'm not saying not denigrating it. I mean, I am to a certain extent, but he'll get reward. Why? He did something out of his own heart. He did a good thing. 100%. Why should that make news? Why should people write about it? Again, stories that fill the news, that sell newspapers, even if you don't buy them today, just look at it online. Dog bites man, it's not a story. No one's going to care. Man bites dog? Oh, it's a huge story. So this is a story. Have professional athletes that don't help others. I'm not saying not. I'm not saying they don't. I saw something earlier. I don't know, some actor was helping somebody for months, for years. I don't know, paying their rent or whatever it was. Tremendous. That's a huge thing. Not saying not. How common is it? I'm not going to guess. I'm thinking it's probably not, as common. Right? But I'm not saying it doesn't happen. But you make such a big deal about it. It's mind-boggling. Someone here points out, well, maybe people are going to get the wrong idea. They're going to say, oh, the person's phony, just doing it to get his name in the paper. Yeah, maybe. I'm saying there are genuine people, that like to help others. They want to help others. Okay. I think the majority of people don't. A lot of people are selfish. I'm not saying everybody. Right? So when a person helps someone else, what's your mindset? What should you be thinking when you're helping that other person? The other person needs help. So you go and help them. You do whatever you can to try and help them. You do a good thing. Right? You get the mitzvah of doing chesed, helping someone else. Now, helping someone else doesn't necessarily mean, you changed the tire, you gave them money, you did other things. It could be you went to visit someone in the hospital, made their stay a little bit more comfortable. You didn't say very much. You just want to show you were there for them. Okay? Right? There are things that a person can do: use their body, use their pockets, use their mouth. But when a person does the mitzvah, let's keep in mind one thing. When a Jew does a mitzvah, why do we do mitzvahs? Because God said so. That's why we do mitzvahs. But people are going to say, aren't you doing mitzvahs because you want to get a portion of the world to come? What if that wouldn't be the case? The Mishnah Perkei Avos says, what's the highest level? The highest level is if I don't get a reward. That's the highest level, even if I don't get any reward. We're going to say, we know we're going to get a reward, and I'm going to do it anyway because I want to fry in hell forever. Okay, that's a much lower level. Much lower level. So if you do good things for others, I wouldn't expect anything. You're not doing it to get brownie points. You're doing it because God said you should do chesed. You should help this person if you can help them. If you can't help them, you can't help them. Right? Now, this is worse. Why do I say it's worse? Let's say a person could have. Someone's making a wedding. They're having trouble with wedding expenses. So someone very rich says, yeah, I'll help you out. I'll give you $100. The person's got millions. Someone else doesn't have, much money. They give them $500. Who gets the bigger mitzvah? The person didn't have much money. Because he's giving more of themselves. The one who gave $100, not going to dent them. He should have given $1,000. Should have given $5,000. Person got that kind of money. People don't want to do it. Again, I'm not going to say everybody. I'm not going to say there aren't philanthropists. There aren't people who don't help others. For some people, it's like pulling glass out of their veins or something. It says something they don't do. It's not part of their psyche. It can be by Jews also. But Jews themselves, even though we give more money to charity than anyone else, exponentially, it's part of our psyche. But someone eats garbage, right, and eats all this stuff that's not kosher, it's gonna affect them. It's going to affect them in a negative way. 100%. They can't, even if they're not lacking anything. Come across people like this also. It doesn't hurt them. It hurt them, let's say, maybe it hurt them in other ways. But it's not really affecting their day-to-day life. So what? They're not affecting everyday life, so why don't they help? They don't want to. That's a simple thing. They don't want to help. They're not the messenger. Okay? There are plenty of people like that. They don't want to help. They'll say, wow, that looked like it must have hurt. Wow, you must be in a tough position. Wow, they just hit you upside the head, and they go on with their lives. Well, what happened to empathy? No empathy? No empathy at all? That means their heart is corroded. Totally corroded. Because they can't see past themselves. I'm not saying necessarily they're narcissists. I'm not saying that. But they don't want to help. They could. Let's say, again, person's in a position to help. And they could help. They don't want to. Okay, it's their choice. It's definitely their choice. no empathy on the fact you don't want to help. Yeah, it's kind of hard to take. I would think that's kind of hard to take. So when a person does good for others, what are you thinking? Right? Let's go back to the question. First part of the question. What are you thinking? What you're thinking is, I'm doing this. I'm helping this person because that's what God wants me to do. I don't care if I get reward or not. I'm helping this person because I can help this person. That's what I'm here to do. If I can help, I'll help. You expect a reward? No. Shouldn't expect anything. Now, if a person helps someone else because they want to get brownie points, because what they want is they're going to ask this person for a favor later. So that's so enough for the sake of heaven. That you're doing it for ulterior motives. You want to get some sort of reward. You want to get something back. You want to get something back over you. Right? So the reality is, you're going to do a mitzvah because you're going to help someone. Second question is, or the first question is, should you expect it from other people? So we live in a very cynical world, and I would say, why should you expect it? You would think if you're down, you need help with whatever it is, you can count on people to help you. Not necessarily true. Not necessarily true. So I can tell you, when I had money and I helped a lot of people, when you don't have money, now you know who your real friends are. A lot of people, follow me around, this and that, because they knew I had money. They knew I could potentially help them. So I always thought that, people hanging around because of that reason. It's not true. I definitely was wrong in many ways. But in the end, when you help a lot of people and now you can't, you see who your real friends are. That's when you see who your real friends are. Now, if you help other people, or let's say you help somebody, should you expect them to help you? Why should you expect that? Well, you help them. Now, why do some people, I would agree, why do some people, not want to ask help from others? Because then they're beholden to that person. I mean, they may not have a choice, but they may be beholden to the person. Meaning that they did you a favor. They did whatever favor, so now you feel obligated to them. So some people don't want to put themselves in such a situation or put others in that situation. Right? But I would say there's a higher degree of obligation. If they need help and they helped you, you definitely should help them. No question. That is no question. Right? But should I expect it? So I'm a little more cynical over the years. Part of me would say, no, don't expect anything. Don't have any expectation so you won't get burnt. Because the problem is, when you really count on someone, you got a good friend, this, that, and they don't come through, what happens? You're rip-roaring mad. You're totally upset. So I'd say, don't have such great expectations. At the same time, we may need to lean on people. We may have to do that. Whether we like it or not, we need other people. Sometimes we need help, for all kinds of things. Right? So, if a person needed that help and that person, I can't help you. I'm not saying they're obnoxious. I say, I can't do it. Or, I'm not around, this, that, and you feel like you get blown off. Right? So, that's the whole thing. How do you deal with that? That's hard because you're counting on them. So you're going to say, what? Don't count on anyone? Can't do that. Yeah, you depend on people. There are some big people you're dependent on. Right? Depend on for, certainly a spouse. Right? You're dependent on, emotional things, other things. Right? And, if it doesn't happen, there are issues. Right? These are complicated relationships. I'm not even talking about a spouse, with kids. Someone told me yesterday, a certain situation and a person, a tight position. in a certain way. He did something that his kids didn't necessarily approve of. Right? So in the end, one of his kids didn't speak to him for a couple of years. Another kid, says his spouse, so disgusted by what they did that they can only see him and his kids not in his house. Can't come to his house. So I would say there are repercussions for your actions. True. That is definitely true. But at the same time, relationships are complicated. Family relationships, friendships, they're complicated. And a person could be in a situation, whether it's with family, whether it's friends, whatever, you're counting on someone, they let you down. Right? I spoke about this. Spoke about this a lot on Sunday. Right? About, dealing with disappointment. The chips were down, you needed their help, and there was nobody home. It's hard to take. Knowing that they could help. I'm talking about a situation they could help. And there's no empathy, there's no help. It's hard to take. Right? So when a person does something, they help someone else, your expectation is, it doesn't matter if I get anything back. You're not interested in getting anything back. What's the greatest chesed you can do? The greatest act of loving kindness you can do is with a person that's dead. You help bury them, other things, whatever it is, make arrangements, funeral arrangements, different things. Why? Why is that the greatest act of chesed? The greatest act of loving kindness because you get nothing back. I'm not talking where you're inheriting. Forget about inheritance. It's something you don't even know. Let's say it like that, right? What's the reward you're going to get over here? You're not getting any monetary reward. You're not getting anything back from this person. You know why? They're dead. Dead people don't give gifts over here, right? They don't know you anyway. But in any case, even if they did, you're not getting anything. You're not getting anything. That's the greatest act of chesed. So when a person does something, you should expect others going to help you, or from other people. Not only that, but you don't necessarily want to pull rank and say, listen, I helped you with this. Why can't you help me with this? That's going to put a person in a bad situation, right? Because you already helped them. They probably feel pretty bad, or they probably feel maybe obligated, more obligated, because you helped them. Doesn't matter what it is, you helped them. So now you come back to say, listen, I helped you with this. I need help now. I need help with something that's totally not related. And the person, and you make the person feel bad, guilt. Jews are good at giving guilt, right? You make them feel bad. Look what I did for you. What? How can you not help me? That's why people don't necessarily want to help others. Maybe they don't want to be subservient to them later. Because, someone helped you with something and now they come back, I don't know, 6 months later, a year later, 2 years later, 5 years later. They come back and ask you a favor. Non-related, totally not related. You're going to feel more of a responsibility to help them. Why? Because they helped you. But what if you're in a position you can't help them? You're just, you're out of town. You're not around. You can't help them. So you probably feel bad. You probably feel, much worse because, you had more of an obligation, more of a responsibility because they helped you once. Okay. But you can't help them, right? You're stuck. You can't help them, in this situation. Okay. The problem is the person depended on them. You're depending on them and they let you down. So yeah, that's the whole discussion. How to look at it. Right. But the point is, should I expect it from other people? No. We don't do mitzvahs in expectation we're getting anything. You'll say, don't Jews do mitzvahs because they're going to get reward later and they're afraid they're going to find out forever. That's a very low level. We're doing mitzvahs because we believe it's the right thing. It helps me draw closer to God. That's why we're doing it. And it's not so easy because we're tossed around like rag dolls. We have difficulties, all these things. True. 100% true. No ulterior motive. You lose from doing the mitzvah also if you have ulterior motive. What can I get from this person? Oh, someone asked you to do something Now you think in your mind, oh, they have this, they have that. Maybe I can do this. Yeah, sure, I'd be glad to help you. Make a quick calculation, what you could possibly get out of them. You get reward for that. We're not going to say you don't get reward. You get reward for helping them, but you're doing it under a false pretense, right? In other words, you're helping them to get something later. Do you get the mitzvah? The mitzvah. You get the mitzvah. I wouldn't say it's a high level. I wouldn't say you did it. I'd say you probably did it. You get a C minus. Right? I'm probably being generous. I'm not going to give you an F. I'll give you a C minus. Right now, that would answer the second part of the question, or the first part of the question. Second part of the question is, what happens when they do the opposite to you or ignore your kindness? That's a problem. That is very hard. That is very hard. Now, we're not in the business of helping others thinking what I'm going to get in return. Now, you help them with something, and they ignore you. Or they think they have it coming to them. They don't show appreciation. That's kind of hard thing. And that's one of the worst sins a person can do also is being ingrate. And not show appreciation for what someone has done for you. Even though, let's say, you didn't really deserve it, but they just, they wanted to help you, whatever it is. Whatever it may be. But you don't show gratitude. Doesn't mean you have to be on your knees and lick their boots. I'm not saying that. You got to show gratitude. Someone helped you got to show gratitude. Even if you can't help them. Let's say a person needs a loan, right? Person needs a loan. They go to somebody and they say, I'd love to help you. I can't. It's not, it's not possible. But they help you in other ways. Now you really need the money, let's say, right? But let's say they help you in other ways. Or let's say they don't even help you in other ways. What do? You have this whole discussion. They make you feel better. They give you strength, right? They'll tell you this light at the end of the tunnel. Don't worry. Yeshua Hashem Karafayin. God can change anything in the blink of an eye. They give you strength, but they can't help you, right? They don't have, or whatever the case is. They can't help you, right? So, but you have to show gratitude. If someone did help you, you have to show gratitude. And even if they didn't help you monetarily, but let's say, they gave you strength, they made you feel better, they boosted your self-esteem, okay. That's not like having money in the bank, okay, but it helps them in other ways. Right? So if you can't help one way, you can help in other ways, let's say. Or a person should be thankful for that also. Give them a different perspective, the way to look at things, all kinds of things. But you're right. I would agree. It's very hard when you help someone and they didn't, and they don't show any, any gratitude. They don't show any gratitude, right? That is hard to take. So you say, how do you deal with it? So a simple way I would say is, even if they don't show any gratitude, if they're obnoxious, and they took advantage and they don't care, yeah. So God wanted you to lose out over here for whatever reason, right? If they ignore it, one of my rabbis who happens to be a trained psychologist, as well, he told me there are people who saved their lives, literally saved their lives, saved their marriages, saved their lives. And he said a number of times he got spit in the face. Got yelled at, got screamed at. He got spit in the face. It happened a number of times. Plenty of other people very grateful for the work he did. Tremendously grateful. Right? But he told me this a number of times. He says, when you help other people, no matter how much you help them, they'll say it's never enough. You could have done this, you could have done that, etc. And they make you feel bad. But what are you talking about? I just helped you. I just helped you tremendously. I felt that also a number of times. I would help people, and they would think I should give them more. I should have done other things. Okay, there's only certain things you can do. There's only certain things you can do. But I definitely felt that. And did I think some people were ungrateful? Yeah. Did it? What it did was, when you're hounded and you don't have any free time, just like what happened by Elimelech in the story of Ruth. There was a famine. People were starving. They were breaking down his door left and right. And he had the ability to help, and he shirked his responsibility and he left. And what happened when he died? And 2 of his kids died. As well. So I got to the point I felt being harassed. So I should have done it in a different way. Should have set up hours. I should have organized it in a different way. I didn't. Okay. Next time around, I learned my lesson. Okay. Whenever that next time is going to come. But, I definitely felt people looked at me as like an ATM machine. And it's my obligation to help them. Now, to judge them favorably, if a person's in dire straits and they know someone's got money, why shouldn't they help them? Why shouldn't they help them in a bigger way? So if anyone's been, the tables have been turned and you've been in that situation, you understand how people are. Right? You can definitely understand that. So I've been on both sides of the coin. So I can understand the other side. Definitely can understand the other side. Person's got money, they could help, and they don't want to, or they give you a lot less than you think they could have, or whatever. But you're still in dire straits. So I'm not saying you're not grateful. You definitely have to be grateful. But you're saying that's all you can do. That's all you're going to do. Right? Or you don't say that, but you're thinking that in your mind. God has a lot of messengers. A lot of messengers. At the same time, people do funny things. And some things just don't make any sense. Except for the fact that, as we said before, if a person needs help, whatever it is, God has a lot of messengers. If it's not this one, it'll be that one. If it's not that one, it'll be someone else. You put your best foot forward. That's what you do. My Rebbe went to collect money for his yeshiva when he was going during the war. And not only did he didn't come back with any money, he took some of the yeshiva's money, went in cab, taxis and this and that. The next day, Ramosh Schneider calls him over. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get grilled over here." Right? Ramosh Schneider says, "I want to give you a big thank you." He says, "A big thank you?" He said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Not only did I not make any money, but I said I took money from the yeshiva. I spent money from the yeshiva. I didn't make any money. Lost money." So Moshe Schneider told him, he said, "We just got a huge donation. It's going to keep us going for a while." So he said, "I want to thank you." And he said, "But I didn't do anything. I didn't make any money. It didn't come through me." So Moshe Schneider says, "What are you, a heretic? You don't have any emunah? You don't have any faith? You don't have any belief? What happened to you?" He said, "I didn't think you were going to save the yeshiva." Not at all. But you had to put your best foot forward. Because you put your best foot forward, money came in from a different place. You have no idea. Zero idea. Where a person's salvation is going to come from. Doesn't necessarily mean monetarily. Spiritually as well. Many things. No idea whatsoever. God can do anything at any time. And if this doesn't work, you try that. That one didn't work, you try something else. It's not always going to be no. You just don't know. One door closes, another door opens. Or another door can open, you didn't even think you didn't even think of it as a door. And all of a sudden, what did God do? He opened you a door. How can he do it? Because he can do anything. He's got the power to do anything. So you're right. People, who don't show gratitude, it's a hard thing to take. Does that put it's a hard thing. It's a very hard thing, but that shouldn't stop a person from keep doing it, from keep helping others. Because we're not doing it to get a pat on the back. We're not doing it so people can say, "Oh, look what he did! Look at all the cameras." We're not doing that. We're helping someone because it's the right thing to do, and I have the ability to do it. So I'll do what I can to help, not regardless of what the other person's going to say or they're going to do or anything else. Does it sting a little bit where there's, where they feel they're not being, they're not, they don't have enough gratitude or doing just the opposites? Say you could have done this, could have done that, could have done the other thing. Yeah, it stings. Okay. But even if it stings, you still have an obligation to help others. If you can help others, you have an obligation to help them, whatever level. And just because people may not show gratitude doesn't mean you're not going to stop helping people, because you don't do things for no reason. You're not doing it because someone's going to help you later. Or what can I get out of this person? I'll help them because I think this, that, and the other thing. When people come to big donors, people have a lot of money. The donors know that the people with the money know why they're coming. Right? They want to keep the money in their pocket. You want to take the money out of their pocket. They know the game. They understand. They've heard all the stories. They understand. So yeah, get develop a relationship and all these things. When you're trying to ask for big money, a different thing. Right? So that's a different issue, because you're helping them gain portion of the world to come, and you're gaining at the same time. Right? But not to show gratitude, yeah, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad, but that should not stop a person from still helping others. Right? And in my case, I thought, I felt I was being harassed, all the time. So, at the end of the day, there were plenty of people show gratitude. And some people didn't, and not only didn't show gratitude, but hit me over the head. Thinking I could have done this, I should have done that, I should have done the other thing. Okay? There's always more what we could do. But at the same time, there's a limit. There's a limit as well. So even if they ignore you, even if they say other things against you, you got the mitzvah. You got the mitzvah of helping them, whether they show gratitude or not. But we're not doing mitzvahs to get gratitude from others. We're not doing mitzvahs so someone's going to, we're not learning Torah so someone's going to say, "Oh, look at that big rabbinic scholar." Right? Look at all that knowledge. You're not learning Torah for that. Because there are plenty of people greater than you. And even so, the Mishnah Perkei Avos says, why do you think you're so great? That's what you're created to do anyway. So God helped you learn more, okay? Gave you the desire, okay? Very good. But now I'm going to think I'm God's gift to the world because I learned a lot now. You got to show gratitude. You're not doing mitzvahs for any ulterior motive except that God said to do it. Even if you help others, they don't help you. Or even they say things against you and you help them. So what? You're going to say it's going to be harder to pick myself up and do it again. You're right. But the attitude is, even if I get nothing in return, it doesn't matter. Even if they spit in my face, it doesn't matter. I got the mitzvah. It may leave a sour taste in your mouth, okay? Right? But we're not doing it for ulterior motives. Somebody asked, can it be God's making them give you the help in spite of their motives? It's a good way to look at it. In other words, you're helping them when it's extremely difficult to help. Right? Let's say like that. In other words, you're helping. In other words, I'll say it a different way, but what the question is you're helping them despite their motive. Right? In other words, is God putting you in that position despite their motive? That's a test. It's an absolute test. True. In other words, let's say a person helps, a parent, and the parent has dementia. The parent has dementia. They say things, they curse at you, they this. It's depressing, very, very depressing, right? But you help them, because they're a parent. You help them. Now, does it make it that much more difficult to do? Yeah, it does. But it's a test. Because, if someone comes for help, whatever that help is, and they're making it really hard for you to help them, right? Yeah, it's a big test. Because you can say, why should I help you? You don't deserve my help. It's a test, right? I'll give you an example. If you see, two mules, and they're overburdened, they're being crushed by the burden. One of the mules belongs to someone you hate their guts. You think of 50 million ways to kill them, the way they should die. That's how much you hate them, right? The other mule is of someone you love, your best friend. So the mule's getting crushed. Who do you help first? What's everyone going to say? The mule, your best friend. No, wrong answer. Right? The Gemara says, whose mule to help first? The mule of the one that you hate their guts. Why? Why do you have to help them first? You know why? You have to help them in order to overcome your anger against them, to work on your evil inclination. So everyone's going to say, I would have thought just the opposite. But even if you hate them, even if they did this, that, and the other thing to you, and it could be disgusting things, right? And it's an opportunity to help them or someone you love first. Right? Big test. Big test. Who do you have an obligation to help first? The one that you hate, to overcome your evil inclination. Now, what's the $4.5 million question? We keep upping the ante here. What's the $4.5 million question? The question is in such a case, is that what God expects? Is that what God wants? That's what he wants. He wants you to overcome your evil inclination. But the person did this, that, and the other. You're right? The terrible thing. Terrible things. I have to go that far to help them over someone I love? Yep. To overcome your evil inclination. Now, someone's going to ask, come on, that's only talking about righteous people, not everyday people. Not true. Talmud does not make any distinction at all. It says that's your obligation, across the board. That's your obligation. You're going to say that's a pretty darn hard test. You're right. It's a hard test. Right? So there are people out there that, let's say, need our help. And let's say we're obligated to help. And they make it very hard for you to help them. They make it extremely difficult for you to help them. It doesn't matter what it is. You'd rather, I don't know, slit your eyes with glass or something like that rather than help. But what, you help them. It's a test. It's a huge test. Right? The question is God making them, give the help in spite of their motives? Could be putting you in that position. Right? You get credit regardless of your motive. But at the same time, you want to have the right motive. Even if you get nothing back. Even if you get negativity back. Imagine, someone helps somebody, they give them $5,000. Let's say post-dated checks, 3 checks, right? Add it up. I don't know, 1,600. You give them $1,600 in 3 checks, right? The other person looks at the checks and is like, okay, thank you very much. Whatever. They grumble something, they leave. How does that person feel that they gave? If a person gives charity, let's say with a sour face, the Rambam says you lose the mitzvah. No matter how much you gave, you lose the mitzvah. If you give it begrudgingly, you lose a good part of it. Right? It has to be with a pure heart, with a pure soul. No ulterior motives. But it's more difficult to want to help someone, when the other person, doesn't show any gratitude. Motives over here should not matter. If a person wants to help someone, they should, regardless of anything. They see someone stranded, they help. Doesn't matter who it is. What do I care? There's a story, right? There's a story. Someone helped, Trump with a flat tire once. Say what you want about him. right? At some point later in life, he paid off this guy's mortgage. He helped him. Did the person think he's helping Trump or any rich person, whoever he is or she is, in order that something's going to happen later, that they're going to get compensated later for a lot? Never. Doesn't matter who the person is. But motives over here, if a person does it for the wrong reason, you might get a C minus, right? But motives and what's in your mind plays a major role also. I'm not going to say it's nothing. It's definitely not nothing. But I'm just pointing out our obligation doesn't matter what doesn't matter what the person's going to do. Doesn't matter what the person's going to think. Even though you have never show gratitude, you never get compensated for in other ways. Doesn't matter. You got the mitzvah. That's your obligation. You help them, regardless of anything else, right? And if they ignore your kindness, okay, so they ignored it. So you get a bigger mitzvah. You get a much bigger mitzvah. Because they didn't, they barely thanked you. They barely gave you lip service. So you help somebody and you feel like you got smacked upside the head. So that you still get the mitzvah. You get even a bigger mitzvah. Huge mitzvah over here. Multiply it by infinity. Because, they sort of spit at you at the same time. Right? So they're going to say, well, I feel bad. Why should I have done it? Look, they didn't show any gratitude. I don't think they have to kiss your feet. Kiss your boots. They don't have to do that. They should show a level of gratitude. What if they don't? What if just the opposite? What if just the opposite? Someone gives you a wad of bills, they just grab it and leave. No thank you, no nothing. Well, then you feel pretty bad. Maybe feel pretty stupid. You did that. Right? But if you look at it as I'm doing the mitzvah, regardless of what they say or what they do, that's a huge thing. And it doesn't matter. Right? Person does an act of loving kindness to help someone else, they get the reward for that regardless if the person shows gratitude or not. So you're going to say, but isn't it more difficult if they don't show gratitude? True, but you're not doing it for them to show gratitude. You're not doing it for any reason except for the fact that God said you got to help others when they need help if you can help them. Right now, there's another thing. Someone here points out maybe it's a good reason why they can't help. Right? Maybe a person in financial trouble will You're right. There could be other reasons. There could be legitimate reasons they can't help. How do you view the following situation? A person needs help monetarily, right? We use money. Money is always a good example, right? A person needs help monetarily. Someone has plenty of money. They have plenty of money. And they don't help you. They don't want to help. It's not about being overextended. Not about they can't get to it. They could help you. They don't want to. They could give you examples. Stock market's down. They could give you $1 million, someone could have, let's say, they could be worth $1.5 million, right? They could be worth $2 million. But they're living off that money. So they say, yeah, I can help you. I'll give you 0.25% of what I have. Now, what's their rationale? The rationale is I'm living off this money. I don't know what's going to be. I may need major surgery. I may need this. I may need that. True. You can't squander money. That's for sure. That I would agree. It's a question of the way you look at it. Right? But here, we're not talking about a case where they're overextended and people can make up issues. They can say, well, the market, people can say the market's down. My money's not worth as much. Okay. That's true. That's true. But at the same time, $20,000, they can help you. $50,000, they could probably help you. But money's down. This, that, there's a limit to what people will do. So they could have an upside down mindset. Because they can think, well, I don't know what's going to be with this. I don't know what's going to be with that. People are paranoid. Understandable. Someone is older. You're not making money. Stock market's down. So what do? Okay. But if it's smaller money, it's not necessarily going to affect it. They're still afraid. They're still afraid, right? But what's really behind it? What's really behind it? You know what's really behind it? Sad to say, they don't want to help. They don't want to help. That's what's behind it. They can make up any number of excuses, right? The excuses I'm thinking of and I mentioned are not necessarily excuses. They'll say it, but it's an excuse. That's what it is. It's an excuse. The bottom line is they don't want to help. They don't feel they should help. They don't feel they're obligated to. Okay. Maybe they're not obligated to help. Doesn't mean they can't. Just means they don't want to. Right? In other words, they could explain it. I would agree. Right? Here in the case, they don't explain it. That, okay. They don't have to. They're going to say, I can't. They don't have to give you a reason. But people can, make a whole agenda around it, and say, well, stock market's down. Oh, someone told me years ago, they, their financial person said, if you don't have 2 million in the bank, or I think it was like 3 million in the bank, this is already 25 years ago, more. They said, you can't retire. You have to have that much in the bank. I don't think they have that much in the bank, but, regardless, that's insane. What, $3 million that you've done? I think that's a little bit insane. Say such a thing. That's what the person said. That's what their analyst, that's what their financial analyst said. I think that's kind of insane. You need that kind of money to retire. I don't do many people that kind of money to retire. Maybe some do, some more, some less, whatever. Right? But if a person doesn't want to help you, right, they don't have to give you a reason. But they can also give you a reason. You're like, really? They make a whole agenda around it. But what are they? But again, let's read between the lines. What are they really saying? They're really saying, I don't want to help. That's what they're saying. Is it true their stock portfolio? Say that 5 times fast. Their stock portfolio is down. Okay, it's true. Is it going to go up significantly? Maybe yes, maybe no. Right now they're more nervous. Someone who's more nervous about money, they don't want to give it over so quick. Even if it's a little bit, they don't want to give it over so quick. They don't know what's going to be. Paranoid. It's paranoia. I might need this. I might need that. I might need the other thing. I get it. You're not making money. I get it. But if you have money and it's sitting there, you can choose. Okay, you want to help. You don't want to help. It's your choice. All right. But I'm just saying if they don't give a reason, okay, they don't give a reason. They just say, I can't at this time. So you could judge them favorably and say, oh, maybe they're overextended, maybe this, maybe that. Okay. They can't help. I'm talking about a case where someone could help. They don't want to help. That's the difference. It's the same thing. Someone's got $1 million, they write out a check for $100, $180. And someone who's is barely making ends meet, they give you $400. That's a big difference. That person gave $400, it's like he gave $400,000. Person gave 180, it's like he gave it's like he gave a quarter. He gave nothing compared to what they have. You say, it's other money, it's this, okay, it doesn't matter. It's how it's viewed over here. Somebody mentioned some people, hate nice or helpful people also. There are people, one of their big trials is to be grateful. They don't know how to be grateful. Right? Other people, again, just don't want to help. There are people out there that don't want to help other people. They just, someone told me a story. There was a couple that, a Jewish couple that, that came, they were from France, came in from France. They get in contact with someone from a synagogue. They put him in contact with someone who keeps kosher, this and that. So they invited him to their house, or their parents' house, let's say. Wherever, invited them to their house, made this whole meal. people looking around like, what are you doing? What do you mean? Someone called me. I mean, it wasn't me, whatever. Someone called them, right? Someone called them and they said, listen, can you help? Can you help out in this situation? So they said, yeah. Let them come over, do what we can do, help them out, whatever. Other people around, so these are perfect strangers. You're right. See, but we're all intertwined. Jews are intertwined with everybody, with all Jews. Right? We take responsibility one for another. Right? They want to know where to get kosher food. They want to have a meal. Okay. They don't speak the language so well. They don't know anything, anything around this, that. So why shouldn't you help them? If you can help them, you should help them. But other people look at it. Someone told me this. Other people around looked at it like, what are you doing? Right? It's such a strange thing. What do you mean? It's called hospitality. It's called helping a fellow Jew. That's what it is. You're helping a fellow Jew. Not just because you got to get reward over here. You're helping them. But other people look at it like, I would never do that. So some people have bigger hearts than others. But my point is, if you eat all this garbage, I'm always talking about food here. You eat all this this tray, it affects your soul. So they wouldn't even dawn on them to help such a person. They look at it as like, what are you doing? Like, that's a strange thing. What do you mean? Abraham, our father, helped 3 Arabs. Dressed up, they're angels, dressed up as Arabs. And he's after bris milah, 3rd day. Most amount of pain after circumcision. And he's looking for guests. Because that's who he was. That's what he represented. Helping others. Even when he's in pain. Was he exempt? Of course he was exempt. Not only that, he was talking to God at the same time. The rabbis tell us having guests is even more important than talking to God. That's what we learn out from that. Did you help someone? What? Person's a burden to you because you helped them? Where's your mentality? Where the heck is your brain over here? They ask for help. You're able to help them, so why not help them? Because it's not part of your psyche. Because it wouldn't dawn on you to help somebody. That's sad. That is sad. Now, I can tell you from personal experience, seen it with my own eyes in different ways. Sad, but you know what? You can't fight City Hall. People have the ability to help. They want to help, fine. They don't want to help, it's their choice. It's definitely their choice. Right? So, how do you deal with that disappointment? How do you deal with that disappointment? It is, you work on your emunah. You flex your emunah muscles. It's what we call sweat off a duck's back. Why? Because you see the bigger picture. As we always say. They can help you. They can do this, do that, and do the other thing. They choose not to. Okay? So you go to plan C, plan D. You gave them an opportunity. They're not the right messenger. Okay? Can you force a person to do something? No. Can't force anyone to do anything. When you say, well, this could tremendously help and this and that. Okay, but there's nobody home. You can't fight City Hall. There's nobody home. So you can get upset. You can yell. You can scream. You this and that. You know what? They're not a messenger over here. They're not the right messenger. Is it sad? Yeah. Can it, get under your skin? Yeah. Can it get you really ticked off? Yeah, but what's the point? The point is, they're not a messenger. Okay? If later they turn out to be a good messenger, very good. If not, you do what you need to do. Give someone an opportunity. They don't take the opportunity, or they don't want to take the opportunity. Okay? You're not going to bark up the same tree when you think, you get rejected. Okay, it's their choice. Might be annoying, might be frustrating, but you know what? It's a test. I just heard a class from a Pesach Crone should be well. And he's telling over a story that someone was in a certain situation and the mantra was, God, you're giving me this test, I'm going to pass it 100%. And this thing went viral. all these people like went through certain trials, and they all said the same thing after they heard this. God, you're giving me a trial, I'm going to pass it 100%. That's it. Forget about the mentality of it. Forget about the psychology. What they should do, they shouldn't do, this, that, based on 50 million different factors. Forget it. You understand it. They didn't want to help. They said they couldn't help. They doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. They're not the right messenger. So what's the mantra? God, you can do anything. You can change anything. The blink of an eyelash. Blink of an eyelash. You got to say it. You got to believe it. And then when you see it, you give a little bit of wink to heaven. You say, okay, just checking you're still there. It happens. People see things that sometimes you see it very direct. Yeah. Someone asks, what if you apologize being wrong? The other person doesn't say what they did was so bad to you. If you want to ask for forgiveness and they say, well, you really didn't do anything that wrong, you should still say, I still want your forgiveness. If they didn't get offended, let's say they didn't get offended by it, so then you really have nothing to ask forgiveness for, right? In other words, we say every night before we go to sleep, we say that, before we say the Shema, we say if anyone did anything wrong against me, I totally forgive them. Anyone who bothered me, this, that. So why do you have to forgive anybody? Why do people ask forgiveness before Yom Kippur? So a great rabbi once told me, he said, yeah, how about they meant it? Right? They should have meant it. If you really meant it, no one ever has to ask forgiveness from anyone else. If what they say before they go to sleep and they really meant it and they internalized it, then if everybody did that, no one has to ask forgiveness from anyone else, even though it's a custom to do before Yom Kippur. So what's the answer? The answer is that we don't really mean it. Because if we really meant it, no one would have to ask for forgiveness over here. So, if a person said, well, it wasn't so bad, this, that, let's say you get totally offended. And it was really bad. And they blow it off, say, well, I apologize anyway, it really wasn't so bad, this and that. And what if it caused you damage and many other things? Okay. You still should forgive them. Because you want God to forgive us for terrible things we do against him, so we should overlook what other people do to us. Now, that's a very hard thing to do in many ways. Very hard. But if a person can't feel in their heart to do it, okay. Right? But deep down, we should do it. And remember, the person's a messenger, and God sent them to us and all this. But it's hard. It's definitely very hard. But at the same time, the Rambam says someone comes to you, ask for forgiveness. Even if you know what it is, but they don't tell you whatever, you should forgive them. If you don't, you're considered cruel. But what if they did cruel things to you? True. You're 100% right. Question is, how do we view it? Right? Everything's in the mind. Right? This is what we keep saying over and over again. Everything's in the mind. It's how we view it. And if a person's in dire straits, that person can help. They don't want to help. What's the mantra? God, you're the one in charge. Okay? They don't want to help. They don't want to help, whatever it is. So you find me someone that will. You give me the right messengers. I'm putting my best foot forward. You give me the right messenger. You have no idea where the right messenger is going to come from. But you have to put your best foot forward. But you're going to say, is it really annoying? Yeah, it is. You know what? If you have the right mentality, when, sweat off a duck's back. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. Because God can do anything. God is the big boss. He's the one in charge of everything. So it doesn't matter. I got slammed. It was painful. Okay. Person got rejected. Okay. You could have used their have the ability to help. Very good. And if they say, no, I'm not going to hate them for life. Now, let's say you could hate them for life. You're not allowed to bear a grudge and all that. True. But you have to look at it. God is sending people as messengers. Some are going to do it. Some are not going to do it. There are many messengers. But see, when the chips are down, you're expecting help. That's the whole point. That's the whole question. Right? Whatever that thing is, people, you're going to feel worse when the person doesn't come through. They say, okay, I'm giving this person an opportunity. That doesn't work. That's plan A. That doesn't work. I go to plan B. Plan B doesn't pan out or whatever. I go to plan C, D, E, whatever. You got to put your best foot forward. Yeshua Hashem Ka'eravayin. God can send salvation the blink of an eyelash. We have to live it. We have to believe it. But we have to keep saying it over and over again. Because he can do anything. 100% he can do anything. Yeah, there's another thing. Someone here points out, what about giving when you're financially strapped? So my Rebbe once went to someone for charity cause. The person said, I can't give right now. I'm very much strapped. They were doing very well before, and now they're having difficulty. Right? So my Rebbe said that's not the right attitude. The right attitude is God just gave it to you in a lump sum. He just gave it to you earlier. So now you're struggling, fine. But that doesn't mean he didn't give it to you to help. He did give it to you, but you want to hold on to it now because you think, oh, you're losing. You're not losing. You got. You gained. And so people will say, even if a person's in, is having difficulty financially, you don't put yourself in the poorhouse. You got to have, some money, this, that, right? But that's when you get the greatest merit. The greatest merit is even when you don't have. Come in contact with people like that also. People don't have, or they found her, this and that. You flex your emunah muscles. I'm not saying you put yourself in the poorhouse to do it. Depends how strong your emunah is over here, right? But at the same time, there are people that have very little that they can be extremely generous, even with the little that they have. Even if they put themselves on the line, they don't know what it's going to be. And all of a sudden, something can happen. You get taken care of other ways. Seen it happen. Multiple occasions. So you don't lose by helping others. But expecting what I should get in return, no, we don't expect anything. God's the one in charge. I'm doing it for the sake of the mitzvah, right? And that's it. Right? So the idea is, you're right. It's a lot easier to give when you have. And if a person doesn't have, they can't give. Right? Or give as much. Right? But that's a test. That's a huge test. Right? It's harder to give when when you have much less. True? That's definitely true. But you get much greater blessing when it's harder. Right? Someone there points out, that's the blessing. Even when you can't give, or you can't give, let's say better, you can't give as much. So you give what you can give. Right? Lefit Saragar, according to the amount of self-sacrifice is the amount, the greater the amount of pain, the greater the reward. Let's say better, the greater the difficulty. So even if it's really, really hard, and a person gives, the merit for that, the reward for that is exponential. Totally exponential. You don't lose. You definitely don't lose. But as my Rebbe said, so the person said, well, I'm losing right now. You say, no, you're not losing. God just gave it to you in advance. Right? He gave it to you in advance. So he gave you a lot at the beginning, and now you're making less, but he gave it to you in advance. You're not losing over here. Right? Again, when it's difficult, the person gets greater reward. No question. Definitely no question. Let me see their questions here. Is there an odd way of burial? No. They should go in the ground. They should not necessarily get cremated. Right? That I would say. But they They should go in the ground. They should go in the ground. Can they have a service? They say Psalms, yeah. Yeah, definitely can. That's what I would say. Someone asked, what should we do if our parents going to bring an idol and priest to the house and you still live with them? Ooh. That's not your house, though. In other words, that house doesn't belong to you. So that's not your prohibition. That's not your prohibition. The question is, should you get rid of it, take them out? That's according to Kabbalah, that's what happened to Rachel. That's why she died. Because she took away the idols. She took away the idols from her father. But that's the whole question. She stopped him from idolatry. So that's a good thing. Right? So some say that was Kabbalistic answer. I think the Ramban says that it wasn't because Yaakov's married to two sisters and he comes in the land of Israel and she dies. Right? That wasn't the case. Many rabbis say that is the case. Sorry, that's why she died. But I think it's the Ramban who says that according to Kabbalah, because she hid it, then she died for that. She wasn't allowed to do that. She stopped him from idolatry. True, 100% true. Regardless, right? She shouldn't have done it. Shouldn't have done it in different ways. Someone asked, did Abraham keep the entire Torah? Yeah. The Gemara says that's the case. He kept the entire Torah. Yitzhak kept the entire Torah before he was given exactly what it looked like. That's a good question. If yes, is it forbidden for a non-Jew to keep the complete Torah? So whatever applies. Non-Jew can keep whatever applies to them. Right? But, they didn't, they do everything like Jews do? No, not necessarily. It's a question of what the Torah looked like. Can a Noahide help a Christian, Muslim, or an atheist? Yeah. You can help them, get reward for helping them. Right? Definitely true. If it's a choice of helping, let's say, a Christian or a Jew, you'd probably help a Jew first. If it's the same thing or whatever. You can definitely help anybody. Right? You get married for helping anybody. Jews should help Jews first. Right? We help our own first. That's what we do. But, and every nation will help their own. But, who says I have to help them? I don't necessarily have to help them. Right? I'm not, it's not forbidden for me, to do that. But again, if somebody, as we mentioned, parents bring idols into your house, you don't have to get rid of them. It's not your transgression. You want to help them, save them, but you don't have any power over you. You don't have any power to do it. Yeah, let me see any other questions here. Yeah, so, any other questions? All right, I'm going to stop there. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Israel time. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, or Michael Chaim Koppen. You can send me an email, rabbichaimkoppen@gmail.com, or RBBIChaimkoffen@gmail.com. Wishing everyone a good beginning of the day, middle of the day, depending where you are. Everyone have a great